Hi there, Koukun here. Today I'm going to be talking about how my first two rental properties actually lost $25,000. So you've probably already heard from someone that you know, a friend of a friend, who bought a rental property and lost money. So here is my story of how I actually lost some money in real estate. So here's how it happened. The first two rental properties that I purchased were purchased with a partner. So me and my brother agreed to do the work involved in finding the property, finding tenants and the property management and all the day-to-day issues with the property. And our partner was the one who provided the down payment and the financing to get these two properties purchased. Now, because we were beginners in this, we agreed that the expenses that came up over and above any rental amount we collect, we would cover, at least in the beginning, because we were inexperienced. Now, those expenses are what ended up being $25,000, and there are three main reasons why that number got so high. The first main reason is vacancies. We experienced quite a bit of vacancies early on in our investing career just because we were, inexperienced. We chose some bad tenants, both out of our inexperience, but also mainly due to having vacancies. Because we were losing money each month, we wanted to rent out the property quickly, and as a result, we chose some not so ideal tenant candidates who ended up breaking their lease within 1 or 2 months, and then we were left with a vacant property again that we had to advertise again. So it was a little bit of a vicious cycle in the beginning. So we had to go through a few tenants on both properties, and twice we had both properties empty at the same time. That was not fun. The second one, sort of what I explained already, we had a few bad tenants. And now they weren't bad enough to damage the home, so they kept the homes in good condition, which we are very thankful for. But they did, some of our tenants, they moved in and they stopped paying rent after the first month, or after 2 months, or after 3 months. And we had one tenant who was living in the home for 3 months before we could get him out of the home without paying rent. And we still haven't collected anything from him. So that's 3 months of rent just gone that we had to cover the expenses for the property for. And the third way we were able to lose money, this wasn't as big compared to the first two, but this was in repairs, because these two properties were single family rental properties. The cash flow on them is quite low. As a result of that, any expense that came up, even after the properties were rented, we sort of had to take out of our own pocket. So these could be appliances breaking, washers, dryers, and they could even be any repairs. So we had a small leak in the basement of one of our properties, so we had to redo some flooring, install a sump pump. Many of these minor incidental expenses, they start adding up, right? It's a few $100s for each of them, and many times you have to hire some help to do it. So each time something like that happens, it starts to add up. Now, after hearing this, you may be wondering, why would you bother to go through the hassle of buying a rental property if you stand to lose as much as I did, right? But I can tell you from my experience with these two properties, even though we lost basically $25,000 in expenses, in the few years that we've owned these properties now, both properties combined, we've already paid down the mortgages, or our tenants have paid down mortgages by a total of about $40,000. And because we've had quite a run-up in prices in the Greater Toronto area in the last couple of years, the values of these properties have actually increased a combined of about $200,000. So it's about $240,000 in equity we've created from a $25,000 loss in expenses. So long term, it'll always be a good, profitable investment, but in the short term, it can be quite painful. Many times I even questioned if I should continue this or if we should just sell the properties and quit. But definitely, if you can keep the long-term mindset in mind, and if you can think in 25 years, you hold on to the property, you pay off the mortgages, it can really be a valuable asset, especially for yourself and your family for the future. And these two properties have been a very valuable learning experience for me, because now I know one of the priorities when investing in rental properties is to make sure to minimize vacancies. So now whenever I'm renting out a property, I do the utmost to advertise the property, to get as much interest in the property, to get as many potential tenants to the property at the same time, so it creates a demand for the property to get it rented out quickly. And actually one of these properties, the most recent time we had it rented out was about 1.5 years ago, but the previous tenant decided to leave, so they let us know ahead of time. We were able to get a new tenant with a lease signed before the previous tenant had even left the home. So because of that, we were able to put our vacancy at almost zero between those two tenants. So that's definitely something we've been able to do because of the experience we've had and because we've learned from the past. So I hope you found this video helpful. Please click subscribe if you haven't already. And also give that like a thumbs up. And also make sure to check out last week's video. As always, have a good day.